if you ever in your lifetime wanted to have the opportunity to influence who is going to be the next president of the United States, this is it right here. Not only is it the most important election of your lifetime, you hear that every 4 years, but I think this time I can really make the case that if 4 more years of Barack Obama is an absolute disaster for the future of our country, of our children, of our freedom. But also, because Virginia is in the crux of this, I mean, literally there is no scenario in which Mitt Romney gets elected President of the United States where Virginia isn't central to it unless you suddenly have an opening up. And a lot of people have talked about that like 1980 when Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter were going back and forth for a long time. And around this time, I think Jimmy Carter was still ahead in the polls. But then, towards the very end of that election, people saw that Ronald Reagan showed leadership that Jimmy Carter just wasn't showing, and elected him President of the United States, and by a very, very comfortable margin that also allowed us to win control of the United States Senate for the first time in about 30 years in that election. So that could happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And don't equate Barack Obama with Jimmy Carter in terms of their ability as candidates. I think in their ability as presidents, I'd give it to Jimmy Carter. I think Barack Obama may well be the worst president the United States has ever had, but he is not the worst presidential candidate we've ever had. And we have absolutely nothing to take for granted. But the good news is that right here in the 6th District of Virginia, the most Republican district in Virginia, we have the opportunity to potentially decide who will be the next president of the United States. And almost as important, we have the opportunity in the 6th District of Virginia to play the key role in firing Harry Reid as the majority leader of the United States Senate, a guy from Nevada. So how do we do that here in Virginia? Well, we've got to elect George Allen. And George Allen could well make the difference. I think we have a good opportunity to win control of the United States Senate, and we might win it without winning in Virginia, but I wouldn't want to count on that. So we need to do everything we possibly can to make that happen as well. And you've probably noticed that we're not the only ones who think this area is important in this presidential race. 4 years ago, John McCain never came to the 6th District of Virginia. Late in the campaign, we had a great visit by Sarah Palin. She drew a huge crowd in Salem. Some say maybe as many people as the 4 visits by Barack Obama. But it's important to know that Obama, in a state that had not gone Democratic in 40 years, was spending not only 4 visits in this part of the state, the most Republican part of the state, but a whole lot more everywhere else as well. And he really invested a lot, and he won it by a significant margin. So we have absolutely nothing to take for granted there. Now, his visits since then have actually been quite helpful to us. You all know the recent visit to Roanoke, and on the back side of the block where my congressional office is located, he made what is now an internationally famous remark that you people who own small businesses, you didn't build that, someone else built that. We need to make sure that we continue to carry that message, because that was a candid moment on the part of a very slick president, in my opinion, and really told you a lot about what Barack Obama is all about. But that wasn't the first time he gave us a gift. He went to down far southwest Virginia, I think it was after he was elected president, and he said, "I love Rick Boucher." And that was a very, very helpful statement as well, because it, coupled with his outrageous policy on energy, particularly coal, gave Morgan Griffith the opening, and for a brief period of time that will end on January 3rd, gave the 6th District of Virginia not 1 congressman, but 2. Looking around the congressional districts across the state, the races look good, but there are a couple that we don't want to take for granted. Robert Hurt's opponent went up on television in the Roanoke-Lynchburg market just this week. And he has raised quite a lot of money. Last report I saw, he'd raised over $600,000. Robert has raised more than double that, and I think he will win, and he's been getting all across the 5th District, doing a good job, but he needs to take that race very, very seriously. And then over in Tidewater, in the 2nd Congressional District in Virginia Beach, we have a great fellow, a Ford automobile dealer, Scott Ridgel, who was elected also at the same time Robert Hurt and Morgan Griffith was elected. His district is probably, it's a lean Republican district, but not by a lot. In the redistricting, the General Assembly was able to strengthen it a little bit, but it is, again, an opponent who has substantial resources, and we need to direct any help we can over that way and call people's attention to that as well. But I think we'll win all 8 of our congressional seats. I believe we will hold control of the House of Representatives. That also is a great opportunity for the 6th District, because I have a strong likelihood of becoming the next chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. There's nothing to take for granted in that either. After this election is over, which I'm not going to take for granted at all, we will have a contest in the Republican Steering Committee. So far, I am not opposed for that position, but there's no filing deadline. So we are doing everything we can, and that includes helping to make sure that we keep this majority in the House of Representatives and getting all across Virginia, helping candidates, and then raising money to help the National Republican Congressional Committee and individual candidates in tight races all across the country. Lastly, let me say a word about the situation in the Middle East and Africa, many Muslim countries in that region, and the unrest. First of all, it is a tragedy that we lost our ambassador to Libya and 3 other people who I did not know, but who I assume are great folks for being willing to serve in a dangerous part of the world as U.S. representatives, and we should mourn their loss, and we should pray for them and their families. And secondly, let me say that we in the Congress need to get to the bottom of the security issues that are going on here. The administration, and there's online you can see a great exchange between Jake Tapper of ABC News and Carney, the press person for Obama, about just what exactly they know and don't know. They just have assumed that this is all related to a video, an insulting video about Mohammed. And, you know, look, Islamic extremists live a few centuries behind us in terms of recognizing people who disagree with them, in terms of understanding what freedom is all about, and so on. But I think there's more to this than that. Even if that were the only thing, we need to know that those things are going, you know, in the United States and in other countries, people feel free to criticize other people or other beliefs or other ideas, and when that happens, we need to be prepared to protect the people who are on the line for us. But I think there's more to that. There are questions about what our intelligence knew and when they knew it, but more importantly, this was right on the anniversary of 9/11. The attacks in Libya in particular look to have been premeditated, and therefore I don't think you can simply lay this on the doorstep of this spontaneous reaction to a video, and we need to get to the bottom of that. Finally, let me say that when you have a president of the United States who is not respected around the world, these kind of things are more likely to happen. And we need to have a strong president and a new president of the United States. So let's get that done. We have the opportunity right here, better than just about any place else in America, and you folks are right there on the front line. So everything you can do to spread the word, to get the enthusiasm up, to bring up the turnout from 4 years ago, when people were not excited about John McCain. And, you know, we had a divisive contest for the nomination here, but the contrast between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama is stark, and it is real, and it is something that we can take to our friends and neighbors, and family members, and people we work with, and people we worship with, and get them to register, get them to vote, and get them to elect a new president. Thank you. God bless all of you.